today we are going to start with how emotional intelligence is so essential for success in HR profession. Now, the importance of EQ is definitely increasing day by day, and especially in contemporary times. EQ has come to occupy even a more important place than IQ. Especially in HR profession, it is about dealing with people issues. It is about dealing with human behavior. And human behavior, as we all know, is very complex and complicated because people have different personalities, they have different emotions, they have different mindsets, they have their own ways of thinking, they have their own attitude. So dealing with human beings is a big challenge. And in HR profession, you have to deal with people issues. You may have to deal with conflicts between the employees. You may have to handle the grievances of the employees. You may have to formulate various policies regarding the workplace culture, regarding the work-life balance, how to manage the personal and professional life of the employees, and many other aspects. And for that purpose, you also have to pay attention to the development of the interpersonal relations. So HR profession basically requires a lot of emotional intelligence, and it is only by developing your EQ that you can reach to heights in the HR profession. Now, according to Daniel Goleman, who is a New York Times science writer, journalist, and a researcher, now we are being measured by a new yardstick. Previously, it was more of the technical expertise part, which was considered as important for success, and it was considered as the criteria for success. But in today's world, our success is not merely measured by how technically expertise or expert we are possessing, but it is at the same time measured with how we manage ourselves and how we manage others. So this involves a lot of emotional intelligence, and it is an important criteria for success in today's world. Now, if we look at the LinkedIn Learning Report of 2020, it is one of the top 5 skills which is required. Of course, the other skills which are required according to the LinkedIn Workplace Learning Report, they are creativity, adaptability, collaborativeness, and of course, emotional intelligence. Now, it also talks about persuasiveness. That is also an important skill which the top companies of the world require in today's world. So when we talk about the first skill, that is creativity, which is required as per this Workplace Learning Report, we discussed a lot about experimentation, innovative ideas at workplace, developing a learning culture. So just reminding you that creativity and putting in innovative ideas is one of the topmost skills which the employers require in today's world in their employees. And emotional intelligence is one of the top 5 skills which the companies need in their employees in the present context. So when we look at how this term developed and what was the history of emotional intelligence, in fact, it was in 1930s that Edward Thorndike, he described the concept of social intelligence. Now, by social intelligence, he conveyed that we should have the ability to get along with other people. So it was somewhere in 1930s that people started feeling the need of developing the ability to get along with other people as an important criteria for success in a profession. And in fact, in 1940s, David Webster, he also talked about affective components. Affective components are those components which relate to our emotions, thoughts, and feelings. So he talked about the affective components, and he said that these are very essential for success in our life. Later in 1950s, even Abraham Maslow, he talked about that how people can develop emotional balance, how they can build up their emotional strength, and how they can leverage this emotional strength for success in their profession. Now, this term became more popular in 1995 when the publication of this book by Daniel Goleman was undertaken. In fact, he wrote the book, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. So with this book, people became more aware of the importance of emotional intelligence in professional success. Of course, it is very essential for personal success, but it is equally important for professional success. So there he has talked about that how EQ has become more important than IQ in the present scenario. Now, when we talk about emotions, so what exactly are emotions? Now, emotions are more of related to our neurophysiological changes, and they are emitted by the neurotransmitters, and they have a biological aspect as well. So now when we actually try to understand the emotions of people, it can be inferred from their behavior. We observe behavior. We cannot directly see the emotions of others. What is reflected is their behavior. So we observe the behavior of the people, and from that we infer the emotions of the people. So emotions are more of personal experiences. That means different people may have different emotions in even same situation or in different situations. So different people feel differently, have different feelings, they have different emotions. And sometimes we may feel angry, sometimes we may feel sad, we may feel happy, we may feel fearful, we may have that feeling of guilt, we may feel anxious, or we may be stressed out, or we may be surprised, or we may be having that feeling of regret. So all these are what? Emotions. So, but they are reflected in our behavior. So these are 6 universal emotions. As I said, the happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, surprise. Of course, there's a long list, but we all know about this. We feel these emotions, but we have never thought of managing these emotions. We have never thought of balancing these emotions. And these emotions, they have an impact upon our working, on our professional life. Of course, they have an impact upon our personal life as well. But here we will discuss more about the professional aspects of EQ, or raising the emotional intelligence of the employees, and raising our own emotional intelligence first. So talking about intelligence, when we talk about intelligence, now what is actually intelligence? It is the ability to acquire knowledge and skills. And not only acquiring it, it is also how we apply it and how we use this knowledge and skills to learn from the experience, and also to adapt according to the changing environment. That means whatever we have learned from experiences, from books, from teachers, from colleagues, from peers, from bosses, and our own life situations, how do we apply it? That is intelligence. How do we actually adapt that knowledge according to changing circumstances? So then, what do we mean by emotional intelligence? So emotional intelligence, it conveys a number of things. First of all, it relates to our ability to understand our own feelings. So it requires a self-understanding of our own emotions, of our own feelings. Then how do we manage these feelings? Once we understand our emotions, we understand our feelings, then how do we manage these emotions? How do we regulate these emotions? And how do we motivate ourselves? And how do we really avoid at times our emotions impacting our work? Because maybe we at the workplace, we have faced some issue, we carry it back to the home, and in the home we have faced some issue, we carry it to the workplace. So there's a lot of mess in our entire life, because we cannot handle our emotions, and we do not know how to actually regulate them. So one, it is the understanding of our own emotions and regulating our emotions. Secondly, it also depicts what? The understanding of the feelings of others. And then managing our relationships with others based upon our understanding of the emotions of others. So emotional intelligence is about understanding our own emotions and also understanding the emotions of others, and then managing our emotions and dealing with people based upon our understanding of their emotions. It is also referred to as people smartness at times. People smartness is not in the negative sense, it is in a positive sense. That means how we can develop good relations at the workplace, as HR people, as HR professionals. This is a big challenge, how to develop good relations, how to create the right kind of work environment in the organization, how to get things done, how to convince the boss, how to convince the superiors, how to convince the subordinates, how to deal with the peers. Because in our profession, we have to deal with various people. We have to deal with clients, we have to deal with the third parties, we have to deal with customers, we have to deal with our peers, we have to deal with the boss, we have to deal with the subordinates. So unless and until we work upon our emotional quotient, we would not be able to really derive the right kind of or the desired outcomes out of our relationships. Now, if we have a look that what is more important, IQ or EQ? So you must have observed in your daily lives that sometimes an intelligent person, a person is very intelligent, he's very technically gifted, but still he's not able to command much respect, or he's not able to get along well with the team. So, and on the other hand, you might have observed some people who are technically gifted, are very good at their work, they have a very high IQ level, and they are also at the same time good at dealing with people. So there are two things. Person may be equipped with both high IQ and high EQ. On the other hand, a person may be gifted with high IQ, but he may, if he is lacking in EQ, he may not be able to get the respect which he really wants from his peers or from his colleagues. So there may be people who are technically gifted, but still they do not command much respect. And there may be people who are not technically experts, but still they are respected. So how we can explain this? So a large number of research has shown that EQ is more important than IQ for success. And that is why the top companies of the globe, they are really requiring employees with high emotional intelligence. And in fact, the research which has been conducted by Daniel Goleman, it has shown that individual success in work is 80% dependent on EQ, while only 20% is dependent on our IQ. So we're not saying that IQ is not important, but if a good IQ is not supported by a good EQ, then mere IQ will not be sufficient for success at the workplace. So what is important in today's world is really you have to work upon how to build up your emotional intelligence, how to manage your emotions. At the same time, you should know how to deal with people based upon your understanding of the emotions of the other people. Now, what do we mean by being intelligent about emotions? Of course, IQ can be measured by a number of standardized tests, but what do we mean by being intelligent about emotions? So it means that we can perceive and use the emotions to create optimum relationships and produce desired outcomes. That means how intelligently we use our emotions, how intelligent we are with our emotions, whether we are talking about our own emotions or we are talking about the handling of the emotions of others, because it is this understanding which can help us in creating good networks. Today is the time for building bonds. Your professional success depends upon your networking skills also, your negotiation skills also. And if you have good networks, you can be really good in your profession and you can move ahead in your career ladder. So, and how to derive the desired outcomes, how intelligently you use your emotions for this purpose. So some people think that emotional intelligence is about being, very sensitive or giving too much importance to emotions, or being very emotional, or being very nice all the time, being goody goody all the time, or being very, being affected by small changes in the emotional states of people. So it is not about that. It is not about that. It is not about being nice all the time. It is not about being very sensitive about our emotions. It is about being aware of the feelings, and being aware of the feelings of others, and managing those feelings, managing those emotions. So it is definitely not being about emotional. It is being how smart you are with your emotions. So in an organization, you will notice that employees depict different kind of behavior as HR people. Now, this is very important, that how would you notice that an employee is having low emotional intelligence? On the other hand, you will find that some employees have high emotional intelligence. So, for example, the employee is very argumentative. Now, he argues on unnecessary issues, is illogical, and just for the sake of satisfying his ego, he puts up that argument. So, no, you can, it's not that you should not put forward your viewpoint. You should put forward your viewpoint because it is important. But the way you put it forward, that matters a lot. So being argumentative is different from being assertive. You can be assertive without being argumentative. So some employees who don't have any logical basis, and still they indulge into these kind of arguments which spoil the environment, which spoil relationships with those employees, signal that they have low emotional intelligence. Then some employees, they do not want to listen to the instructions. They do not want to follow the rules and regulations. They do not give importance to the discipline, to the norms of the organization. They indulge in misconduct, and otherwise also they are poor listeners. They do not have good listening skills. So again, that is a sign of low emotional intelligence. Then some, you will feel that some people, they react immediately, and they get angry on small things, or they get very anxious or stressed out on small things, so which results into emotional outbursts. So that also shows low emotional intelligence. They are not able to control their emotions, and they spoil the entire environment in the organization. And then some employees, they have the tendency of always not accepting the responsibility and putting the blames on others for their failures and their mistakes. So this is again a sign of an employee with low emotional intelligence, because they do not want to take the responsibility of their actions. They do not want to take the responsibility of their failures, and they do not want to accept their mistakes. They want to put this responsibility on the shoulders of others. So this again is a sign of low emotional intelligence. On the other hand, you will notice that some employees, they have different kind of behavior. And if we discuss the behavior of these employees, you will understand that how do the employees with high emotional intelligence behave. And this is also a learning for you. That means how you should behave at the workplace, how you should check your emotions. This is also a learning. So an employee with high emotional intelligence manages his or her own impulses. That means you don't react immediately. You pause, you think before you act. You give it a thought. What I'm doing, what I'm saying, is it right? So just giving a pause and thinking before saying something or acting in some manner, that is a sign of high emotional intelligence. Then communicating with others effectively. Now, when we talk of communication, generally it is that thought that communication is all about speaking and being a good orator. Let me tell you that communication is much more than that. It also relates to the listening skills. It also relates to the body language. So if we really want the communication to be successful, we should not only be good at speaking, we should also be good at listening. We should be able to understand what the other person is saying. And for that purpose, we should be able to get into the shoes of the other person. And this is called projective listening. We should try to understand the emotions of the communicator while we are actually listening to somebody. So that means if we really want good communication, we have to be aware of our emotions. We have to develop an understanding of the emotions of the others. Also, we have to be very, very particular about our body language, our gestures, our facial expressions, because if our emotions, they reflect on our facial expressions at times, or they reflect on our body language, that may spoil our impression. We may be feeling something which is really not to be projected at the workplace. Then managers change well. So yesterday we talked about change management, and we saw how important it is. If we really want to be successful in today's world, we have to accept, adapt to changes, and manage change. So an employee with high emotional intelligence is able to understand that change is only permanent. There's only one thing permanent, and that is change. If we really want to progress, if we want to beat our competitors, and if we want to be successful in our careers, then we have to adapt ourselves according to the situation. So we have to really be good at managing the change. And then problem solving, many employees, they always go to the superiors or to the boss with problems. The result is that the boss is not very happy in dealing with such employees, because always they come with problems. So rather than going with the problem, the employee with high emotional intelligence would go with the solution. So if you go with a solution to your boss, you are not only going to prove yourself professionally, but also you will develop good relationships and you will create a good impression for yourself. But this can happen only when you possess and you work upon your EQ level. Then at times using humor also is very important in stressful situations. If you can make the situation light with the right sense of humor. So the workplace can be a place of fun where you can enjoy while working. So how do you deal with stressful situations? Do you feel bogged down, you get nervous, you feel anxiety, or you're able to come out of it with your wit, with your healthy sense of humor? So that again reflects your emotional intelligence. Then shows empathy. So again, yesterday somebody was asking about empathy, so I said I will discuss it tomorrow. So empathy is what? Putting yourself in the shoes of other person. That means understanding things from the perspective of the other person. So employee with high emotional intelligence shows empathy. He is able to understand the point of view of the other person. If a person is behaving in a particular manner, what is the reason behind it? If a person says something, what is the reason behind it? Put yourself in the shoes of other person. If you would have been in his place or her place, how would you react? What would be your feelings? And that would create a better understanding of the workplace relationships, and also of the superior subordinate peer to peer relationships. So empathy is something which is really important, which needs to be developed if you want to be successful. Then remaining optimistic even in the face of adversity. Crisis management is an important part of management. How do you handle those adverse situations? How do you come out of crisis situation? If you feel bogged down in crisis situations, you lose all your optimism and you become a pessimist. Your ability to handle stressful situations and negative situations is going to diminish. So if you have high EQ, you can manage your emotions and you can bounce back every time you are faced with a crisis situation. So your ability to handle problems is going to increase if you focus upon developing your emotional intelligence. And that is the way an employee with high emotional intelligence behaves. And he is also, when we're talking of emotional intelligence, as I said, it is a must for professional success. Even it is not only necessary for the HR people, it is equally important for the marketing people as well. It is important in every profession, whether you are working as the CEO of a company, or you are an IT professional, or you are an academician, you are a professor, or you're a student, or you're an intern, or you are working in the marketing department. High EQ will always help you to be successful. For example, if a salesperson is dealing with an aggressive customer, and now the customer is either not responding to him or is not very happy in dealing with, and he says that his time is being wasted listing of the product. So how this salesperson is going to deal with that situation, at the same time educate, deal with such a customer, at the same time educate and persuade the customer to to sell that product. So even like the customer service roles, resolving customer complaints. Now we all visit, if we talk about the hospitality industry, we visit hotels. If the food is delayed, or if it is not very tasty, we have the tendency to, lose our temper or immediately blame the hotel staff. Now, in that case, if the guest behaves in such a manner, how the hotel staff should deal with such a guest? If he shouts back, if the hotel staff shouts back or deals in an inappropriate manner with such a guest, they are going to lose their customers, and they are going to also, their credit worthiness, their reputation in the market is going to be adversely affected. So high EQ trains, that is why in hospitality sector, emotional intelligence training is given, how to develop emotional intelligence, because it is required in all the sectors, and it is required for all kinds of work profiles. When we talk of professors dealing with the students, requires high emotional intelligence. Even teamwork, working in any department, dealing with your peers, dealing with the boss, in every field, as I said, whether it is education, whether it is hospitality, whether it is the IT industry, whether it is the pharmaceutical industry, in all kinds of professions, in all kinds of profiles. EQ, as I showed you, that LinkedIn Learning Report 2020 says is one of the top 5 skills which are required by the employers in today's world. So how do you differentiate between an employee with the low emotional intelligence and high emotional intelligence? It is this clarity in thinking and composure in stressful and chaotic situations is what separates top performers from weak performers in the workplace. So people with high emotional intelligence are able to deal with stressful situations. They have clarity in thinking. They can maintain their composure, they can maintain their cool. And people with high EQ are the people who are suitable for top positions, especially at leadership positions, in HR positions. You require high emotional intelligence. And if you try to distinguish between top performers and weak performers in your organization, you will find that the weak performers will be low in EQ. It's not about just IQ, they will be low in EQ also. So what are the personal benefits of emotional intelligence? It results in greater career success, builds up stronger personal relationships, and helps you increase your confidence and gives you a positive outlook towards life. And most importantly, makes you healthy, because a lot of medical problems, the fitness problems, or the BP problems, cardiovascular problems, depression, they are due to what? The inability to deal with our emotions, our inability to handle our emotions. So the recent suicide case, which we all know, Sushant Singh Rajput. Now we do not want to, I don't want to discuss into the controversy, but as it is being projected, it is a suicide, and he was under depression in spite of all the money which he was having, in spite of the reputation which he was enjoying. He was not able to deal with emotions. He was not able to handle his emotions. Of course, it is still, under investigation. What are the real reasons? I don't want to get into that. But what I mean to say is mental health is a must. And for that, you need to develop emotional intelligence. Now, the personal benefits of emotional intelligence relate to what? Effective leadership skills. For leaders, as I said, whether you are at the position of CEO, or you are in the position of an HR manager, or you are in the position of a marketing manager, or you are working in finance department at a high post, or you are working in any XYZ profile, for effective leadership, where you have to deal with people, where you have to inspire people, where you have to motivate people, where you have to formulate people-related policies, high EQ is a must. So it results in effective leadership skills. It results in improved communication. And when you possess high EQ, you will feel that you are not indulging much in workplace conflicts because you know how to handle people now. You know how to deal with the emotions of people. You know how to control and regulate your own emotions. So it will result into lesser workplace conflict. And it will also develop better problem solving skills because you will be able to logically analyze the things because you can regulate your emotions, you have control over yourself. And I said that you will be in a position to analyze the things in a better manner. And let me tell you that there is increased likelihood of promotion when you can develop all these skills. You will prove yourself to be a star performer for the organization, and there will be increased likelihood of promotions because at top positions, as I told you, the employees or the people who can maintain their calm and composure even in stressful situations, who have the ability to come out of adverse situations, crisis management is important, and your ability to deal with people. So when you are able to develop all these skills with the help of your emotional intelligence, you will be the most suitable person for higher level positions in the organization. And according to Daniel Goleman, even while hiring the employees, today's companies are looking through the lens of EI, emotional intelligence, even while hiring. This is one important criteria for promoting people. As I told you, if you want to go to the higher positions, you need to possess this skill. And for developing their employees, the companies worldwide, the topmost companies of the world, they are looking through the lens of EI. So talking about emotional intelligence, how does it help in the HR profession and also as an individual in your workplace, how it is going to help? So as I said, emotional intelligence increases your leadership ability. It improves your decision-making ability. And then you are also in a position to deal with occupational stress. Occupational stress means what? The stress which is related to the work stress. This is an important area for HR. Leadership is a very important area for HR. Dealing with workplace stress, not only you have to deal, but also as an HR person, you have to create the right kind of environment so that your team and all the employees who are working in various departments, they do not face occupational stress because it has a negative impact upon the productivity and upon the performance of the employees in the organization. And emotional intelligence also, it helps to reduce the staff turnover, and because it results in personal well-being, the employees who are able to handle the emotions, they are able to deal with the organizational issues. And if you as an HR person, as a leader, are able to accomplish all these aspects and you're able to focus upon team performance, if you have high EQ, you will be able to leverage the strengths of all the members of the team. The team will work in a coordinated manner because, even teamwork is very challenging because people cannot adjust with other members of the team, results in a lot of conflicts because, as I said, human behavior is complicated, and people with different backgrounds, people with different thoughts, different perceptions, different skill set, when they work in a team, it is not easy. It's a big challenge. So if the people in a team possess high emotional intelligence, the team performance is definitely going to enhance. So as an HR professional, you need to be aware of all these issues for your own personal growth and also for dealing with the people as an HR professional. So you will see that emotional intelligence is the foundation for critical skills. So whether we want teamwork in the organization, or we talk about time management, or we talk of social skills, customer service, I told you, anger management, change tolerance, decision making, flexibility, accountability, creating an environment of trust, having the right kind of presentation skills. If you develop emotional intelligence, you will be able to be good at all the other skills. So it is the foundation and critical for all the other skills which are necessary for professional success. So, the question is that how do you find out that whether you are emotionally intelligent or not? So, of course, there are standardized tests for this purpose. and there are specific tests of which, due to limitation of time, I really cannot go in length about this. But yes, you can check your emotional intelligence to a great extent through those standardized measures. This is a general idea whereby you can just check yourself that whether you're emotionally intelligent or not. Are you able to understand your emotions? Are you able to control your emotions? Are you able to gauge how other people feel? Can you really understand how other people feel? And are you open or receptive to the feeling of other people? So these are some of the questions. You can do some self-introspection that whether you are emotionally intelligent or not. Now, talking exactly about the dimensions of emotional intelligence, as I told you, it has two dimensions. One is the personal competence and the other is the social competence. So the personal competence, when we talk about our own personal competence, there are two areas which need to be worked upon. One is our self-awareness and the other is self-management. So once we become aware of our own self, we will be able to manage our own self. And the other area which is very important is social competence. Now this relates to two dimensions. One is social awareness and the other is relationship management. Once we are aware of the feelings of other people, we can build up good relations. So here, this is based upon what we observe and this is based upon what we do. So basically, when we talk about emotional intelligence, these are the four dimensions of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So how do we develop emotional intelligence? So first of all, we have to work upon our self-awareness. So how do we really work upon our self-awareness? We have to understand our own needs. You know, different people have different needs. And there are various theories also in this respect. Some of you must have studied the McClelland's needs theory, then Maslow's needs hierarchy. So here I will not discuss the theories. What I mean to say here is that some people may have high achievement motivation or need. Some may have high need for affiliation or belongingness. Some have power motive. Some have more of, safety needs. Some have self-esteem needs. If we talk about Maslow, then self-actualization comes in the end. So you have to be aware of your own needs, first of all. And you have to be aware of your own skills. What are you good at? You have to understand your interests, your values, and your hopes and your dreams. And most importantly, you have to understand your emotions. You have to become aware of your own emotions. You have to take a break before reacting. Try to understand, what am I feeling in this moment? This will not come in a day. It requires a lot of practice. So you have to be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses. You have to be aware of your emotions, and especially at the workplace. As I said, you should not let your emotions impact your workplace duties or your interactions with your peers or with your boss. Just imagine that if you let too much of your emotions impact your behavior with your boss, it is going to spoil all your relations. It is going to spoil your workplace impression at the workplace. So you should avoid, uh, you know, um, uh, avoid the tendency to let your emotions rule you while dealing with your boss, with your peers, with your subordinates, or while taking decisions in the workplace. But this can happen only when you are aware of your emotions, first of all, and you also develop the ability to regulate your emotions. So sometimes, you may feel stressed out at the workplace. So after a hectic day, you try to change your mood. Go out for a walk, go to a gym, do some yoga, watch a good movie, whatever is good for you. Do it so that you come out of that mood. So how you handle your emotions, that is very important, and you do not let your emotions hamper your working at the workplace. So then you have to, manage your emotions. Once you are able to understand your emotions, then you have to regulate your emotions. You have to manage your emotions, and for that you need to set inspirational goals for yourself. Some you have to lay down some motivational goals for yourself, and you have to focus for the attainment of those goals. You do not have to indulge into workplace politics. You do not have to indulge into workplace gossips. You should know how to avoid any kind of conflict situation in the organization. You have to be very patient. As I said, those with high emotional intelligence will take a pause before reacting to a particular situation or to a particular person. So you have to exercise patience. You have to keep yourself away from the workplace drama, from the workplace conflicts, from the workplace politics. I know it is not very easy, but people with high emotional intelligence are able to develop this kind of self-management because they consciously make an effort to understand and be aware of their emotions and manage their emotions. So this can come only through practice, first of all being aware, and then also once you are aware, I mean, if you talk about awareness, for example, you should be able to understand what makes you angry, what makes you sad, what makes you happy, what makes you fearful. If you ask yourself these questions and then you work out the strategy for dealing with such situations, definitely it is going to result into better self-management. You would know how to regulate what makes me angry, how do I deal with such a situation. If you do this self-introspection, you will be able to handle your emotions. So once you understand your emotions, you should know how to manage them. Then the other part which I was talking about, the social competence part. So you have to be aware of the feelings of the other people. And for that purpose, you need to possess empathy and you need to understand the perspectives of the other people. So you need to understand that how the other people are feeling. Try to, at a workplace, sometimes there's a cutthroat competition with the colleagues. We try to pull others down. This can be avoided. People with high emotional intelligence believe they foster teamwork. They believe in healthy competition and they believe in collaboration. So lesser conflicts will be there at the workplace if you are socially aware, and you would be able to build up good relations. And talking about social awareness, as I said, listening skills are a must. That means projective listening. When you're listening to somebody, try to understand the emotions of the other person. I mean, you cannot be an active listener unless and until you understand the emotions of the other people. I mean, just if you go by words, that is not actually a good listening skill. You have to also understand the emotions behind the words, and then only you can be called a good listener. So the listening skills are very important when we talk about social awareness, the body language of people, the facial expressions, the gestures of people. So here you can see some of the emotions. The hopelessness may be there. Some people may be confused. The suspicion may be there in the eyes of some people. Some, you can, by the facial expressions, you can find out if a person is angry or if a person is feeling frustrated, or you can find out if a person is confident or not feeling confident. So if a person is feeling guilty or ashamed, if a person is happy, if a person is in a state of shock, you can all understand. This is through expressions, through the facial expressions of people. So this you will be able to understand once you have a good knowledge of emotional intelligence. So what are the barriers to perceiving emotions in others? Why we are not able to understand the emotions of others? Because we are too much indulging in self-reference. We only want to talk about our own self. We want to share our own problems. We want to raise our own issues, or we want to talk only about our achievements. So too much of self-reference is one barrier, or we are too much self-absorbed in our own thoughts and feelings. I mean, we are so self-absorbed that we hardly are concerned, or we hardly care about what the other person is feeling. And then there is, lack of empathy and compassion. I mean, why should we take care about others? Why are we concerned? If the other person is in problem or the other person is stressed out, how are we concerned? So this lack of empathy is a big barrier in perceiving emotions in others. Or sometimes we may not be very comfortable in dealing with such situations where we have to deal with situations where the emotional outbursts may take place. So in that case, maybe we do not feel equipped enough to deal with such situations, and at times we do not know how to respond to certain emotional outbursts. So that may hamper this process of perceiving the emotions in others. But if we really work upon it, if we really want to be successful HR professionals and professionals in any area, you know, HR is there everywhere. When you are in the marketing department, you are dealing with employees. When you're, if you're working in the finance department, you are dealing with employees. You're dealing with people. Wherever there are people, there is HR. So uh, as I say, HR is not only for the HR people. HR is there in every field. Wherever there are people, wherever there are human resources, HR skills are essential. Even if you are working in the marketing department, you are dealing with people. What are you doing? You are dealing with people. After all, you are supposed to work in a team. If you're a team leader, you have to create, you have to convince customers. So the customer is also a person. So wherever people are there, you require these kind of skills. Then relationship management. As I said, building bonds, networking skills are a must in today's world. So if you focus upon building good networks, you have to be good at resolving conflicts. You need to understand the emotions of others. So if you are socially aware and you can deal with the emotions of others, it is going to result into healthy relationships, and these relationships are going to benefit you personally and professionally. And you, if you have a good circle, if you have good networks, it is an added asset for your life, both personal and professional. So for relationship management also, you have to what, be socially aware. You need to develop social skills, and then you will be able to develop good social skills, and you will be able to develop good relations. So this is the summary of what we have discussed, the EQ competencies. That means when we talk of self-awareness, it is emotional awareness, self-assessment and confidence. When we talk of self-management, as I said, it is self-regulation, it is your optimism, it is your ability to adapt to situations, it is your ability to develop transparency with your own self, being authentic to your own self, being true to your own self. And social awareness, as I said, it is confined not only to empathy, but it goes to the extent of serving others and developing others. And as HR people, as we discussed yesterday, you have to create the right kind of culture in the organization, and you are responsible for developing all your employees. So if you have high EQ, then you would be in a better position to handle the development issues in your organization. And as I said, resolving conflicts, teamwork, leadership, communication, building networks, all come under EQ competencies. So in short, then how, when we focus upon these dimensions, we will be able to develop emotional intelligence. We need to do a self-evaluation of our own emotions, of our own strengths and weaknesses, and we have to take responsibility of our actions, because nobody except us is responsible for our own life. So we have to take responsibility of our actions, and once we start doing that, we will start feeling the results in terms of the success which we are going to achieve. As I said, reflect on your emotions, manage your negative emotions. So see, whenever you feel a negative emotions, it is just human that as human beings, for most of us, the negative emotions come first. So by your self-talk, you have to convert that negative emotion into a positive emotion. Look at the positive aspect of the negative situation or the negative happening. And once you look at the positive aspect of that, of a negative happening, you will see that you will immediately feel geared up and competent to deal with that crisis situation. So it is the self-talk part here is very important. What we talk to ourselves, if we are able to deliver a positive talk to ourselves, we can convert even negative emotions to positive emotions. So we have to develop the skills. Whenever we are feeling any kind of negative emotions, through self-talk, try to ask yourself, what is the learning in the situation? What is the positive aspect of the situation? And you will see that your competency to handle that negative situation is going to enhance. So you have to also develop an assertive style of communication, and you have to mind your own body language. At the same time, you have to understand the body language of other people. And as I said, you have to be a good listener also. You have to be mindful of your own vocabulary, using words like please, thank you, sorry. They are important for creating good impressions. So if you have a, if you have a bad meeting with your boss, so come back and do some self-introspection. What went wrong? How could have things taken place in a better manner? Once you do that self introspection, maybe you are able to handle yourself in a better manner with the meeting with the boss. So these skills are really going to help you at the workplace. And when criticized, don't take offense. Instead, ask, what can I learn? Say, if criticism comes from trusted people who do not want to make your sense of self-worth lower. That means if the criticism is not intended at making you feel low, it is intended to make you improve yourself. In that case, it is necessary that you listen to criticism in a broad-minded manner and don't take offense to it, and ask that what improvements can be brought about through that kind of criticism. Be empathetic, as I said, and practice humility. So yesterday, if you remember, when we were talking of level 5 leadership, humility, personal humility is one big aspect if you really want to be a good leader, or you want to be a good professional, or you want to be a good human being. And humility is such an underrated word. I mean, we say that, okay, I mean, we take it very casually, but with the example which I gave you yesterday, you saw that how the CEOs of the company, with their two characteristics, that is, one is the fierce professional will, and the second is what? Personal humility. With these two blend of these two unique qualities, they were able to make their companies great companies of the world. So don't underrate this word humility. It is very, very important. Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from your trusted people whom you trust, whom you feel that they will be able to give you the right direction. So that always helps in self-improvement. And then very importantly, know your stressors. What stresses you? That is important. For some people, lost keys may be a big stressor. You don't, if you are going out and you don't find your keys, they really get very anxious, and some people may start shouting, they may get very angry. For some people, it may be, maybe if they check the office mail before going to sleep, they are not able to sleep because it contains some official information which the person is not very comfortable with, or he starts thinking about what he's going to do next, how much workload will be there for the next day, so he can't sleep. So what can you do? I mean, you have to handle this. Stop checking office mails at night. Check the office mail in the morning. Get into that habit. Change your habit. If you can't find your keys every time you're facing this problem, make a particular place in your house where you put your keys so that you can avoid this. So you have to, first of all, understand your stressors, and then accordingly, you have to deal with them. As I said, bounce back from adversity. If you really want to be successful in your profession, you should know how to bounce back from adversity, how to deal with crisis situations. So if uh, it's a popular saying that if you cannot fly, then run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. So it is that spirit. It is your ability to handle your emotions which is going to help you bounce back from crisis situations. It is going to help you to bounce back from adversity. Then the lighter moments are also essential at the workplace and at home, because all the time, if you are very serious and you are only bogged down into your work, that may create a lot of stress. So at the right moment, I mean, serious at the time of being serious, and light, there can be some lighter moments also at the workplace where you can release your tension or release your stress. So you can be a little light-hearted also. All the time, if you are too serious, then it is going to rather, it is not going to be helpful for increasing your performance. Rather, it is going to adversely affect your performance. So at times you have to be light-hearted. And as I said, use the pause before uh, reacting, before saying something. Think, use the pause before taking a particular decision. Use the pause and explore the why a person behaved in a particular manner, why he said so. Explore it, and you will be in a better position to understand the emotions of others. And practice, practice, and practice. That means emotional intelligence is not something which you can develop overnight. It's not that tomorrow you are going for a job and from today on tomorrow I have to job, I have to go and join. So from today onwards, I'll start exercising emotional intelligence. No, let me tell you, it cannot be developed overnight. You have to start from today. You have to start from this moment. And slowly you will become conscious. When you make a conscious attempt to understand your emotions, regulate your emotions, when you make a conscious effort to understand the emotions of others and deal with them accordingly, you will see that slowly and slowly your EQ level is going to increase. So practice, practice, and practice. Consciously being aware of these things and consciously making an effort in this dimension, in this area, is going to lead to professional success and of course personal success. Now we are going to talk about another very important aspect that is related to happiness management. You know, the stress level of people is so much increasing, especially in the present circumstances of COVID-19. People are feeling stressed out. In fact, according to Gallup survey, the daily worry of US full-time working population from 2019 to 20 has increased from 37% to 60%, and the daily stress level of US working population, full-time working population I'm talking about, the daily stress level has increased from 48% to 65% in 2020. Previously it was 48%, now it is risen to 65%. So the stress level is increasing day by day, and especially in the present COVID-19 scenario, where the people are facing the problems of this pandemic and related problems like quarantine, self-isolation. Then there is fear of loss of job, job insecurity, financial insecurity, and the relationships. Everybody's staying at home. So all the generations, the couples, the children, the grandparents, the parents, all when they are together at one place, it also creates relationship problems. So number of, family issues have also arisen during COVID-19, because people firstly cannot handle their emotions, and secondly they do not know how to manage their happiness. So uh, for the workplace, now for the HR people in the workplace, again happiness management is a big challenge, and it is a big issue, because happiness has a great impact upon the productivity of the people and the performance of the organization. So see, now happiness management, it is a life skill also, and it requires a lot of time to discuss about it as a life skill. But here, due to limitation of time, I'm going to focus more upon happiness management at workplace as a life skill. I due to the shortage of time, I will not be able to focus more upon that, because that itself requires a lot of introspection, lot of discussions. So I would be focusing more upon how you can create happiness at the workplace. So this I'm giving you just a brief idea that actually what is the meaning of happiness. Now happiness does not mean that all our personal needs are met. It does not mean that all the time we are feeling pleasurable, or always we are feeling satisfied with our life. And it does not mean that we never feel sad, or we do not feel angry, or we do not get negative emotions. So I mean, it does not mean that we are completely satisfied with life, or we never feel the pain, or we never have the emotions of sadness. So then what is happiness? So happiness is never simply a function of good feeling, but rather of living good lives, living lives that will most certainly include a good deal of pain. So, as long as there is life, there is going to be pain. There's nobody in this world who has taken birth and has not faced problems, who has not dealt with pain. So it is together with the pain, in spite of the pain, how can you lead a good life? So pain is unavoidable, but how we deal with pain, and in spite of the problems, in spite of the pain, how we are able to lead a good life. Happiness is about that. So it is according to Sonja Lomorsky, who has conducted a lot of research in the field of happiness, the experience of joy, contentment, or positive well-being, combined with the sense that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. So happiness is what? A state of mind where we experience a lot of, sense of joy and contentment with whatever we have. It's not that we are going to be perfect and we are going to have a perfect kind of life. With whatever we have, and we develop that sense of positive well-being, and we find our life meaningful and worthwhile. So let me tell you that actually what determines our happiness. So according to research, 50% of our happiness comes from our genes. So we inherited 50% of our happiness comes from our genes, and 10% is related to life circumstances, and 40% is intentional activity. So, according to research, only 10% is related to the circumstances of our life, and we give too much importance to this. We feel unhappy because some small mishappening has taken place, a crisis has, or even big crisis may take place. But according to research, 50% of our happiness comes from our genes, which is of course not in our hands, because if we have inherited something, we cannot really change it. But what we can do, we can work upon this 40% intentional activity, which is a big percentage in our life. Through our 40% intentional activity, we can increase our happiness level. So it is so important that every year UN, it gives the World Happiness Report, and this report is released this year. It was released on 20th March in 2020, and this was given by the Sustainable Development Solutions Network for the United Nations. And it is so important, and the worldwide recognition of the happiness level of the countries has been acknowledged, and March 20th has been designated as the World Happiness Day by the UN General Assembly in 2012. So now what does this happiness report contain? Now, why I'm relating all these things, so that you can understand that why it is an issue of global importance. And the World Happiness Report ranks 156 countries by how happy their citizens perceive themselves to be. So there's a proper survey, and there's proper polling, and Gallup World Poll is released, and the rankings are given based upon the GD per capita, social support, health, life expectancy, freedom, generosity, and absence of corruption. That means previously GDP was the only factor which was considered as a proper measure for the progress of the country. But now it has been said that it is not merely the GDP, it is the level of happiness of the citizens in the country, which should really be the progress, measure the progress of the country. And this you can see the countries, the happy countries of the world. Finland is the topmost country, and in the last 3 years, it is for the last consecutive years, Finland has occupies this topmost place as the world's happiest country of the world. So you can see the list, followed by Denmark, Switzerland, Norway, Netherlands. So India is nowhere here in this top 20 list. And what is India's position? So these are the world's unhappiest countries. And you can see Afghanistan, South Sudan, Zimbabwe, these are the most unhappiest countries of the world. And India is also one of the unhappiest countries of the world. So you can see where the position of India is. And I said the ranking is given out of 156 countries. And last year, the ranking of India was 140, and now it has further dropped to 144. So see how things are deteriorating, and with the present conditions, this level must have been affected more all over the world. And sadly speaking, this rank is lower even than its neighbors. Nepal is ranked as 92. Pakistan is having 66 position. Bangladesh is having 107, and Sri Lanka is having 130. And now India is a new entrant to the bottom 15 group. So India is below in the bottom 15 group of the world's unhappiest countries, and even we are below, much lower than our neighbors. Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, they are happier than us. So that means now it's a big concern that how to manage the happiness of the people in the country. And here, as per our theme and as HR people, we are concerned with happiness management at workplace. So how to manage happiness in the workplace. Now, according to Richard Branson, who is the founder of the Virgin Group of companies, fun is the secret of Virgin success. So he attributes the success of Virgin with the kind of fun activities and the kind of work environment which they have created at Virgin. And he explicitly says that fun is the secret of Virgin's success. In organizations, there are big problems like absenteeism, employee turnover, dissatisfied customers. Then people do not want to accept change. Then there is workplace stress, which we're talking about. There is burnout. That means after, doing work, the same work over the years, the work becomes very monotonous, and finally the employee feels very saturated, which results into burnout, and he becomes totally incapable of showing his good performance, because he's been working for long hours over the years with the same kind of job. Think how it can affect his efficiency. It results into burnout. And the high workload part, that is also a big problem for the organizations. So um, now it has been proved by research, and this book has also been written by James Heskett, and it has been shown that happy employees result, it leads to better service, which results in happy customers. Once the customers are happy, the loyalty of the customers is developed, and once the loyalty of the customers is developed, what happens? The profitability and the growth of the organization definitely is positively impacted. So here you see the happy employees, they result in the profit and growth of the organization, because if your employees are not happy, how would they perform? How would they deliver good service? How would they keep the customers happy? And if the customers are unhappy, they would not like to continue with the same brand or with the same company. So if you cannot develop the loyalty of the customers, in that case, your profitability and growth is going to come down. So it is directly related to the happiness of the profitability and the growth. Here you can see, once the happiness at work increases, the profitability of the organization, it also enhances. So it's what? Profits and happiness at work. The more the employees are happy at work, the better they're going to perform, and it is going to enhance the profitability of the organization. So let us have a look at the research which has been conducted about the employees. It has been proved by research that happy people are 31% more productive and 3 times more creative than the others. So I'm talking these statistics I'm giving you to make you understand that how happy people are more productive, how it results into increase in profitability. So, and then happiness improves business profitability by 147%. Just imagine, more than 100%. So the profitability, happiness, the direct link has been seen between happiness and business profitability. And 75% of the individuals, it has been seen, leave their jobs because they are unhappy with the boss rather than the job. So the relationships with their superiors, the relationship with the boss, that if you have good relations, if you are happy with the work environment, then there's a lesser possibility of employees leaving the job. So as an HR people, when you talk of reducing the employee turnover or the rate at which the employees leave the organization, happiness management is a big thing. And the lost productivity among the workers, it is around $1 trillion globally, which is a shocking revelation for the world economy. You see, if the employees are unhappy, they lose their productivity, and which has resulted in what? The loss of productivity, and which is a great loss to the world economy. And at the workplace, it is, also the result of intrinsic motivation. Sometimes it is, even the intrinsic motivation in the employees is missing, and they are not able to cope with stress. So because of that also, they are unhappy at the workplace. So all in all, there may be various factors, but what is important is that as HR people, if we focus upon managing happiness at the workplace, definitely we will be more, contributing towards enhancement of the growth and profitability of the organization. Now, happiness at work, when we talk about happiness at work, it may depend upon what? The personality pattern. That means different people. You have to understand as HR people that what are the areas where you need to work upon if you want to make the workplace happy. You have to understand the personality pattern of people. So of course, this is a big thing. And here, in short, I can just say that some people are introverts, some are extroverts, and some are open-minded, some are agreeable, some are disagreeable. So according to the personality pattern, you should deal with the people. Then the social connections, that means building good social connections at the workplace. There's in organizations, there are formal groups as well as informal groups. And an organization is a socio-technical system. When we talk about an organization, it is a socio-technical system. So it consists of the technical part also, and it consists of a social system also. So building good relationships, having good, environment, having teamwork in the organization, understanding the emotions of other people, and building up good social connections. If you walk into an office where you have good relations with your boss, with your peers, with your subordinates, how happy you would feel. So creating that kind of culture in the organization, creating that kind of environment in the organization, that has an impact upon the happiness level of the employees. And then autonomy and decision making. Sometimes the employees may feel that they are caught up in the bureaucratic environment where there is rigidity in rules and regulations, where there is no flexibility for their creativity, and there is no flexibility for their innovative ideas. So in that case, the knowledge workers, especially in today's world, yesterday we were discussing about Apple. So one big thing we discussed was the scope for experimentation which has been given to the employees, the scope for innovativeness. And we talked about Google. They celebrate failure. They give an opportunity to take risks and to bring in new ideas. And then they, even if it does not result into something great, they celebrate because some new ideas develop out of that failure, because they learn something out of that failure. So that scope for innovation and creativity in today's world, when especially when the today's knowledge workers are there, they have their own mindset, they have their own beliefs, they have their own skill set, and giving importance to their skill set, giving recognizing that what they have is important for the organization, that can create happiness. And then financial security, that means when people are working in the organization, one big factor can be what they are drawing from the organization, the package, the compensation. So that, because they have a family to run, they have the responsibilities to meet, and when they work for an organization, they expect that the organization will take care of their financial needs. So that is one part as HR people which you should focus at. And it also impacts the happiness level of people at work. Acceptance and empathy, I've already talked about a lot. Then challenges and diversity of tasks. Now this is again very important. That means designing the jobs in such a manner. Now HR, it is called job design and job redesign. That means how you can make the task more interesting, what kind of duties, responsibilities and tasks you're going to put into the job of a person. Various models have also been given. The job characteristic models are there, whereby you can make the tasks of the employees challenging as well as diverse, because as I said, burnout, when they do the same kind of things over the years, it becomes very monotonous and it has a negative impact upon their happiness level. Then go for job enrichment, go for job enlargement. So these are the things which are really going to not only add some interesting tasks to the tasks which they're already performing, but also it is going to help in improving their happiness level. Then work-life balance is another important issue in today's world, whether you are able to balance between your personal and your professional life. So in today's world, organizations are focusing upon that, because if the working hours are too long and the employees cannot balance their personal and professional life, it has a rather negative impact upon their productivity and upon their mental health, with the result that the productivity of the organization suffers. So creating work-life balance. So there are various policies which you can introduce in your organization. For example, there may be flexi time, there can be compressed work week. Then in today's world, work from home is a very good option. Telecommuting, the companies, some of the companies are making work from home permanent. So of course, this is again a controversial issue, how far this should be done. I don't want to get into it again because of lack of time, but creating a balance in the personal and professional life, if you take care of that, definitely the employees are going to be happy. So the steps to increase the happiness of the employees at work, how to achieve happiness at work for the employees. You are going to be employees also, and you are going to be the HR people also. So some of the tips which can be given is that always smile at the workplace. Even if you feel depressed, even if you feel anxious, you're facing some personal issue, try to smile. And once you smile, you will feel that your ability to deal with stressful situations at the workplace increases. So don't overthink, don't overanalyze. Have a smile on your face, be cheerful, be grateful, have develop gratitude, be grateful for whatever God has given us, whatever your organization has given you, whatever your family has given you. Develop, count your blessings, whatever God has given you. If we develop that gratitude, then you can be a better person, you can lead a more happier life. Engage with other departments, try to interact with departments, different departments. Don't get confined only to your own, stick to your own particular seat and always, confine yourself or make a kind of shell whereby you don't want to come out of that shell. Of course, it does not mean that you have to waste your time in gossiping. As I said, you have to keep away from the workplace politics and gossiping. Still, keeping away from it does not mean that you should not interact with other departments. You can interact in a healthy manner. You can interact in a positive manner with other departments also. And then very important, when sometimes when you visit somebody's cabin, it is all in a mess. Things are lying here and there, and that has a negative impact upon the productivity of employees. Keep your workplace clean and organized, and you will feel that your clarity in thinking is going to increase. Try that. You work in a haphazard workplace where things are lying here and there, and you work in a clean workplace where everything is systematic. You will see that clarity of thoughts is affected, your performance and productivity is affected. And in between, why not take a break and go for a vacation? In fact, in today's world, organizations, they sponsor trips for their employees, like Hindustan Zinc. Like now, of course, it is in the Vedanta group, so they keep sending their employees for excursions where they can enjoy the trips with their families away from the workplace. Keep helping others. Whenever your colleague needs a help or your junior needs a help, go ahead, give your helping hand to others, and focus on one task at a time. Although it is said that multitasking is good, that means you can be good at various things, but if you do all the things at the same time, it may again result into some mess. So focus on one task at a time. Eating is very important. Eat healthy diet, have more fruits, don't eat junk food, because that, what you eat reflects in your behavior. So if you eat healthy food, if you eat fruits, if you eat nuts, if you eat, of course, this is a separate topic again, how to have a proper diet. I hope you understand that what I'm trying to convey, that your food habits have an impact upon your mental health also. So eat healthy, socialize at work, ask for feedback, exercise regularly. This is very important. Divert yourself from the workplace stress. Take time out for yourself. If you have had a bad day, go out to a gym, exercise, do some jogging, do some walking. The next day you'll be fresh enough to deal with the next situation in the workplace. So again, having a proper sleep, setting a goal or a purpose, taking breaks in between, and importantly, valuing yourself. Never underestimate your own value, because if your own self-efficacy is not good, if you don't value yourself, why will others value you? So value yourself and develop that knowledge, develop that skill whereby you can value yourself. And for the employers, provide constructive feedback, rather than providing negative feedback. Even if the performance is not up to the mark, it can be the feedback can be given in a constructive manner, because after all, if the performance is not up to the mark, as employers, you have to talk about it, because you are concerned with the employee and the organization performance. But the way it is delivered, that has to be constructive. Proper suggestions should be given, and the viewpoints of the employee should also be considered, and proper, if there's any skill gap, provision should be made for filling that skill gap. You can organize brainstorming sessions on various issues, and providing wellness programs can be there. These days the organizations, they have their own gyms. At Taxila, we have our own gym. When you come to Taxila, there's a proper TT table where this is all done to kind of improve the wellness of the students and the staff. So have proper wellness programs. So create a room for recreation. So going for picnics, excursion at times, it really helps and creates a good environment. Conduct office events, celebrating the birthday of their employees, taking employees for outings, and office decor and ergonomics are also essential. That means ergonomics relates to what? The physical equipment and the furniture at which actually determines how properly you can sit, you can stand, you can work. For example, what should be the height of the table where you sit? What should be the height of the chair? How much distance your laptop should be from you? What should be the height of the monitor which is fixed on your desktop? So this is like, if you take care of these things, there will be lesser health problems in the organization. And healthy snacks and lunches, at times it can be organized. And flexible hours, which I was talking about, flexi hours, and then having workshops, training sessions, mentoring sessions in the organization can help to create a happy environment at the workplace. So, of course, as I said, happiness management is a life skill also. And due to limitation of time, I have confined myself to happiness management at the workplace. But if we talk about it as a life skill, it requires again a big discussion at length, which I'm not going to focus on right now. So I hope that it has been clear that as HR professionals, how you're concerned with happiness management at workplace, keeping in mind that it is going to have an impact upon the profitability of the organization. It is going to have an impact upon the productivity of the employees themselves. It is going to have an impact upon this turnover rate of the organization, the regularity of the employees, the stress level of the employees. These are the things which are really important as HR people, and you should know how to deal with all these things if you really want to be successful in your area. So the only way to do great work is to love what you do. So all in all, if you really want to be happy, what can you do according to Steve Jobs? Love what you do. So the only way to increase your efficiency is to love your work. If you love your work, you will be happy. If you consider work as a burden, you will feel unhappy. So have a passion for whatever you're doing. So the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Now we come to how do we use appreciative inquiry as a tool for organization development. So of course, OD is a very big area, and OD interventions are introduced in organizations for bringing about changes in the organization. As I said, change management is a very important part of human resource management, and it is in fact a separate paper in specialization of human resource management, that is OD. And here I'm going to focus on appreciative inquiry as a tool for OD. So now, when we talk about appreciative inquiry, what exactly it is? You know, generally when we investigate the working of an organization, when we inquire into the working of organization, we generally focus upon the problem areas. We focus upon the failures. We focus upon the mistakes. But appreciative inquiry is a totally different approach. Here, this OD methodology is based upon the assumption that inquiry and dialogue about the strengths, success, values, hopes, and dreams itself, it is transformational. That means if we really want to bring about change in the organization, our focus should not be on the weaknesses of the organization. It should not be on the problem areas, but we have to focus more upon what? The strengths, successes, values, and hopes. And once we start doing it, this approach itself will bring about transformation in the organization. So let us see how this works. So according to Peter Drucker, the task of leadership is to create an alignment of strengths and making our weaknesses irrelevant. So rather than focusing upon the weaknesses, appreciative inquiry says that we have to focus upon and work upon our strengths. And that is what, again, Peter Drucker is also of the same thought. Now talking about the principles of appreciative inquiry. So one is the constructionist principle. So that means what? That the language we speak, the belief which we have, the thoughts which we have in our mind, that is the way things are going to happen in future. So what we speak is important, what we think is important, because here we construct our future in the same manner. So what we believe to be true, affects the way we act and the way we approach the change. Whatever words we speak into our life, whatever words we speak in the organization, that has an impact upon our destiny. So we should be careful about how we are, what we are speaking and what we are thinking, if we really want to bring about change in the organization. So we should, in other words, we should what? Ask questions which set the stage for betterment of the organization. So the change begins the moment we ask questions. So principle of simultaneity, which says that the very first question sets the stage for what is found and what is discovered. So if we start with negative things, we are going to become all the more negative. So what we find and what we discover, that is simultaneous, and where we will be in future, that is also aligned with it. So what questions we ask in the organization, that is important. Now, for example, instead of focusing upon conflicts in the organization, we can focus upon the examples where there was teamwork in the organization. We talk all the time about, there have been so many conflicts. Maybe we are not talking about the achievements in terms of teamwork, where successful teams have accomplished successfully, collaborated successfully. We are talking about gender discrimination in the organization, and we are not talking about the situations where there was more of collaboration between the males and females working in the organization, and it was, everything went on in a healthy manner. So rather than focusing upon the negative, here the questions we ask, that have to be framed appropriately in order to develop that kind of appreciation for the things which are going well in the organization. And out of that, we will see that we will also find out the techniques of the things which are not going well in the organization. So the poetic principle, which says that an organizations, the organizations are what? Kind of, they depict a kind of story. They are human organizations are an open book, and an organization story is constantly being co-authored, because it is not one person who runs the organization, which is the entire team, all the members of the team. So in fact, the past, present, and the future of the organization, as I said, it is a story. The past, the present, and the future, they should all be the sources of learning, inspiration, and interpretation for the organization. Then our anticipatory principle says that we should be more hopeful of the future, and we should have those kind of mental maps where and it should be done in a collective manner, where we see the future as a very, very bright future for the organization. So the more positive and hopeful the image of the future, the more positive the present day action. If we are hopeful about the future and we have a positive mental image of the future, our present actions will also be positive. But if we create a negative picture about the future, our present actions will also become negative. So anticipatory principle says that we have to focus upon the positive aspects, because in future, if we want to really achieve something, then we should have a good image of the future. And the positive emotions, they improve our capabilities, because whatever we feel, whatever we say, whatever we do, that impacts our health, organizational health, our individual health, and our decisions. So the positive principle should always be kept in mind, because positive emotions improve our capabilities, and negative emotions, they rather hamper our capabilities, because negativity all the more brings down performance. They hamper our capabilities. So the emotions should be positive. So the 4D cycle of appreciative inquiry is about discovery. That means what gives life in the organization, appreciating the best of what it is, as I said. So first of all, you have to choose an affirmative topic and discover that what is going on well with the organization, what is the organization best at, and then dream. That means what it might be, envisioning, creating a vision. Dream is about what? Creating a vision, envision the results of the organization, where we can reach, and design how should we go about it. if we want to achieve that vision, we should co-construct, we should design. That means it should be done in a collaborative manner, in a team manner. So how should we design? What should be the ideal? Co-constructing it. And destiny, that means how to sustain, how to empower, how to learn, and how to further improvise. So this is the 4D cycle of appreciative inquiry, which says, talks about discovery, dream, design, and destiny. So dream big, think out of box, and think about challenging the status quo, and do some come out of your comfort zones, and envision good results for the organization, which creates a lot of, and it should be based upon synergic effect, based upon teamwork. And it should, because if you dream big, then only you're going to achieve something big. If you don't dream big, then you cannot achieve anything big. I tell my students, some people say that you should not dream. I said, you should dream. You should dream. Because if you dream big, then only you will work towards the achievement of that dream. If you do not even have a dream, what are you going to work upon? So I encourage my students to dream big. So that is what the appreciative inquiry principle says, that dream big, and then you will do something different, think out of the box, and then you will see that all your energies are channelized into achievement of big things. And as I said, design the entire system in such a manner where it is the holistic approach which should be kept in mind. Yesterday also we were talking about systems thinking. So we should understand that organization is a system of interrelated system. It comprises of various systems. So we should have a holistic view, and whenever we talk of designing, the whole system design approach should be followed. So this again should be done with collaboration. That is why we say co-constructing. And then focus on the destiny. That means ongoing learning and innovation. Yesterday also we talked about learning organizations, how to create a learning culture. And we talked about Peter Sainz, the fifth discipline. What are the features of a learning organization? And it is a must if you really want to strive ahead in the competition, attain a competitive edge in the market. So ongoing learning and innovation has to be there. So how to further improvise? Your entire attention should never be satisfied with where you are, and you should continuously focus upon improvement, self-improvement, and organizational improvement. So here I would like to end the session with one last quotation, that is, success is not the key to happiness. In fact, happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. So sometimes we think that we will be happy when we are going to be successful, or we are going to achieve this, we will be happy. So the fact is that success is not the key to happiness. Rather, happiness is the key to success. And if you start loving what you're doing, you will definitely be successful. So with this, I end my session, and let me see some of the, if any questions are there. Yes. Well, I thank you all, and I thank you all for all the positive, feedback which you have given me. And I can see some questions. I will just try to answer some of these questions. Yes, somebody has asked, if a person is a good leader but has poor decision-making skills, then can he be a good HR? See, now for being a good HR, you have to have what? Leadership skills, as I told you. But leadership skills includes what? Decision-making skills. If you have to be a good leader, because you have to lead the organization, you have to set the goals for the organization. I mean, you cannot be a leader unless and until you are able to set the right kind of goals. If you cannot decide that what is the right goal for the organization, then you cannot be a leader. So decision making is a part of leadership skills. So you need to improve your decision making skills if you really want to be a good leader, because you have to set the direction, you have to lay down the path. If you do not have good decision making skills, how will you set the right path for your followers? How will you set the right path for your team? So now, this is really important that together with leadership skills, consider decision-making skills as a part of this leadership skills. And let me see uh, if there are any other questions. Um, somebody's asked, most of the theories, concepts, models of HR until now have been made from Western perspectives and scholars. Most of them won't apply in our country's context. Do you think that we should make our own models or still follow their models? So of course we should make our own models. There's no dearth of knowledge in India. There's no dearth of expertise in India. So of course, we should make our models and we should encourage people. You know, most of the time we are reading the books of foreign authors. We don't encourage Indian authors. We should encourage our own experts. We should encourage our own authors, and we should encourage the development of our own models, because we are capable, unless and until we respect our own country, unless and until we respect the expertise of our own people. You see, people in India are leading other countries. Why can't they, have a good, respect or a kind of, prestige? Why can't they enjoy in our own country? Whether you see the organizations, Indians are the ones who are leading many organizations of the world. So it's not about, only following the models. We can create models. We are creating models, and we should continue to do so. The only thing is that we should start respecting ourselves. We should start respecting our own country. We should start respecting our own ideologies, our own traditions, our own knowledge, and there's no dearth of expertise in India. So thank you very much. And with this, I would now like to end the session. And I thank you all the participants for being a wonderful audience, and wish you all this best in your life, and stay safe in this COVID-19 crisis. God bless you all.